I'm Denha, and you're watching FYI. Every January, we remember the impact Martin Luther King Jr. had on our society. We just recognized his national holiday, but one of our local universities made his legacy a priority, not just for a day or a week, but for generations to come. Eastern Michigan University marched for our freedoms in honor of MLK.
This year is especially special and important because this is the 50th anniversary of his death. So of course we just wanted to make sure that we did his legacy justice.
And that march is to symbolize the march from Selma to Montgomery many years ago, which started out with a small contingent and grew and grew and grew until they hit Montgomery. They started small with about 3,200 people, and they grew. By the time they got to Montgomery, they were 50,000 strong, and there were people of every race, every gender, every ethnicity with a united voice.
The march began at the King Garden, adorning a bust of the man himself.
Our theme is live the legacy, look back, be present, move forward.
It's important that we can look to someone who we know fought hard, someone who had a lasting effect.
Stay tuned, and we'll be back shortly with more news and information. For 50 years, trains have been making a stop in the Ann Arbor area as travelers hop on for a tour of the many varieties of model trains. Passengers had their tickets ready as they boarded the annual train show and sale at Saline Middle School.
We have about 100 different vendors come in. We fill up over 300 tables. We have several layouts and even a train you can ride on. That's a large-scale train. It's referred to as live steam.
We have this layout. It's a traveling layout. It consists of modules. The members build individual modules. They all have a standard interface so that we can plug them into one another, and we create layouts like this.
I am debuting a new building. It's called the Cadillac Tower from downtown Detroit. There's also the Griswold building. Mary Martha Stewart Chapel from the Henry Ford, Greenfield Village.
All the conductors share a desire for this childhood pastime thriving into adulthood.
The set dressing makes all the difference in the world. You know, so each and every one of our members adds something exceptionally valuable when they come together as a collective.
For me, it's the artwork. I'm in this for the art. I do a lot of the scenery. I build scenery, I build buildings, I do painting, I do things like that.
I think there's just an inherent appeal about trains, and it was a toy that was available. And there's nostalgia that's part of it at this point. People will buy trains that remind them of their childhood, and it's tangible. It's not the app on the phone where you're buying something with coins and then you said, oh, I'm kind of done with that. The trains are still there, and you can go back to them and recreate stuff.
Help support 50 years of the Ann Arbor Model Railroad Club by stopping at the train show and sale on February 15th and 16th at Saline Middle School. Our snow accumulation for the 2019-2020 season has been low, but when the white flakes do start to cover our streets and sidewalks, there's some need-to-know info for residents and business owners. Learn more about snow removal guidelines in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hello, my name is Robert Keller with the City of Ann Arbor. Winter means snow and ice, and that makes it hard for people to get around the city, especially pedestrians. So as a resident and business, you need to do your part and help clear your sidewalks of ice and snow. What does that mean? Well, for residents, it means any snow accumulation greater than 1 inch has to be cleared within 24 hours. If you're a business, any snow accumulation by 6 a.m. needs to be cleared by noon the same day. So help do your part, clear your adjacent sidewalks, crosswalk ramps, and any concrete bus stops that may be adjacent to your property, and help make it easier for people to get around the great city of Ann Arbor.
Like most towns, Ann Arbor has humble beginnings. It started as a large lot of cheap land nestled near the Huron River and grew into the university town we think of today. But so much happened throughout its rich history that has been seemingly forgotten until now. Joining me is Patti Smith and Britian Woodman, co-authors of Vanishing Ann Arbor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dana.
Patti, we've had you on before because you've written a couple books about Ann Arbor. So what kind of really attracted you to Ann Arbor's history and just keep delving deeper into it?
I grew up, I had a wonderful childhood, but I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit. Very new suburb. Everything was brand new. It's been all farmland. And so we didn't have any sense of history, really. And I didn't know what I was missing until I came here and realized that there was we still had buildings that had been built literally over a century ago. And I happened to be in the Michigan Theater screening room, where if you look around the top of the wall, they have pictures of movie houses, movie palaces that used to be here in Ann Arbor. And it blows my mind because some of them were just beautiful and they're gone forever. And I thought, oh my goodness, we really need to appreciate what we have, what we used to have, and what people built so that we have the town that we have now.
So Britton, what attracted you to a project like this?
So I started blogging a couple of years ago just because I kind of needed like a creative outlet and I wanted to start writing regularly again. And they tell you to write what you know. It turns out what I know is like going through the 7-inch bin at Discount Records and like what coffee shop used to be, where that coffee shop is now, and things like that. So I initially set out to write about current events, but I included like historical stuff in the blog too. And those always seem to be the most popular posts just in terms of like feedback, comments, and things like that. So after I'd been writing that for a few months, a year, Patti said, so I have an idea for another book. I'm wondering if you'd be interested.
Because his knowledge is, it's like some people have sports knowledge, which I think you might too, but it'll be like, what was here in front of this? And then, and Britton can just pull it up. Whereas my history knowledge tends to be way, way back. So it was a really good match.
And you said you've lived in the area since the 80s.
Yeah, that's right.
So you have a strong connection to many decades here in Ann Arbor. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the book? Like, what are people going to learn about in this book?
We have it broken down. I always learn something about history. The thing that I thought was really interesting is just looking at all the restaurants that used to be here. I know it's no way is it it's not an exhaustive list, but Britton and I really tried to list as many restaurants as we could to hopefully bring back some happy memories. Every time I go on the Townies page on Facebook, I see another restaurant. I'm like, oh no, we forgot to put that in there. But we're really hoping to bring back some pleasant memories from those. We did a section on the arcades that used to be here. We did a section on just the general merchandise and like Klein's and the downtown Sears that used to be here, and
one-off department stores.
Yeah, and Fiegel's and all the different department stores, and just hopefully bringing back some happy memories for people.
What did you find maybe challenging about writing this book? Was it the research easy to find? Obviously, you knew some stuff off the top of your head, but I'm assuming you were probably utilizing a lot of the Ann Arbor District Library as well.
When we got started, Patti and I guess more I, just kind of brain dumped everything that wasn't around anymore that I could think of. And we kind of used that as a scaffold. I think Patti kind of structured them into categories of business or concern, and then we kind of fleshed that out like a scaffold. Did I say scaffold? I think I did.
One of the hardest things, as we always say, is that the publisher has a minimum number of words and a maximum number.
Which I had no idea of until I signed my first book contract.
And they're not that far apart, so you don't have a lot of wiggle room. So we had just pages and pages on this Google Doc, and that was really hard to edit it down because, like I said, with the restaurants, you could probably have an entire 100-page book just going through restaurants and bars that used to be here. So that was, I mean, there really is enough for a second book because there's so much that we just had to cut. So that was,
Ann Arbor Eateries, the next one to come.
exactly. Oh yeah, totally.
What did you find out, because you guys obviously both know a lot about the area, what did you find out that maybe you didn't, that you were really surprised by maybe?
You know, one that comes to mind is just how involved the owner of the Round Table restaurant was with the restaurant. Like, she had an apartment above the restaurant that she'd go up to when the restaurant closed every night, and then she'd go back down to in the morning to get ready for breakfast.
So her life was basically
her
sleeping and then being at the restaurant. Yeah.
That always amazes me, how just the incredible work ethic that people had. And not that we don't have it now, but it just looked a lot different. Like, there was the Hertler brothers and sister who ran what's now, well, Hertler Brothers, now it's Downtown Home and Garden, and that was their entire life. Yeah. What really surprised me and I found interesting was I really dug into East Ann Arbor history. East Ann Arbor used to be a separate municipality, and I actually live in part of what used to be East Ann Arbor is now annexed into the city. It has been for decades, but I didn't realize how early there were settlers, there were non-native settlers there as of about 1824 when Allen and Rumsey settled Ann Arbor. There was a school started under a tree in 1824. So it was interesting to me that East Ann Arbor really was as thriving. I did not realize it was that thriving as it was back in its day.
Why do you think it's important to bring these history lessons to the future, basically? Because this is a lot of stuff that I think most people reading this book would have no idea.
I have to give a teacher answer, and I have to say that because someone actually, a student asked me this the other day, why do we get into this? And what I said is you have to know stuff to appreciate what you have and to know if something bad is happening, to say, hey, wait a minute, we went through this already. Let's have that not happen again. For local history, I think it's important that we really appreciate what everybody built, even if their names are not in the book, even if their names are not in the old newspapers, which thanks to the district library for digitizing, got to give a shout out. And even they built something, and it's important to remember them and honor them and be grateful that we are here, because there's a lot of towns founded around the time we were, and they are gone.
I hate to see a dream die, and so much of the book is about dreams dying. Some of the dreams, I guess, die on better terms than others. Like the Fingerly brothers were clearly ready to be out of the business, and they exited gracefully. But for every story like that, there's a few others.
I assume some of them are also too, like,
Ignominy.
your family ages out, and then
Exactly.
like, there's no one to take over a business and stuff like that.
Like the Hertlers,
Yeah.
There's like a few brothers and a
Fingerlys.
sister,
Yeah.
and they just aged out. So
Where can people get the book?
At this point, I think it's at Literati and Bookbound and Nicola's.
So you can get Vanishing Ann Arbor at a lot of local bookstores.
Absolutely.
They've been incredibly supportive.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful. Literati did an event for us, and we've been, our local bookstores are a gem and a gift, and we need to support them because they do support local authors so incredibly much. So
Before you go, why should people check out Vanishing Ann Arbor? Because you wrote it?
I'm a big fan of it. I'm biased for that reason. We've got a lot of great photos in there.
And there are really good photos in there, yeah.
And I think that it will hopefully, at least there'll be something in there that sparks somebody's interest, and maybe they'll find themselves down the rabbit hole like us of research. And the very last chapter, we actually added an afterword because so many businesses closed in 2018 that at almost the last minute, we emailed our editor and we said, could we add a thing at the end? And he said, sure. And so there were a number of things that closed, and then we got Fingerly, and like, I think after the due date, we said, wait, we got something else. So it's kind of up to the minute.
Cannot forget this one.
And we just hope it'll bring back, I mean, you know, people love history in Ann Arbor. Our Townies page and Facebook is so awesome and amazing, and I just want people to have happy memories and, you know, and just remember what was here and what we still have.
Well, thank you both for coming on the show.
Thanks
for having us.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor. See all that we have to offer, and remember to like, comment, and share. Thanks for watching and tune in next time to FYI.